Hey, have a lovely evening. This is a promise that you are going to have one. I have in the house. Would not first let me introduce myself. I was getting ahead of myself. This is FAJ-Alive. My name is Akintunde-Johnson. My friends still call me Faj, and I hope to titillate you with the quintessential soundsman. We try to speak truth here. We try to dilute confusion and make things right. But sometimes you need men who have big chests who can talk, and one of them is here. A fantastic man. I've known this man for over 20-something years. Because of my past dalliance with entertainment reporting, I've known this man since he was, a ruby young man, and he has gone on to be a superstar in his area of music. Yes, we're talking about music. I have in the house Buchi Atuonwu. Buchi. It's just simply called Buchi.
Thank you very much.
Good to have you here.
I was wondering who you were introducing.
That's Buchi for you. Ever gentle, ever simple. Will you ever do anything without this cap?
I wonder myself.
I know you have.
It's something that's come to be with me.
Yeah.
And I like it, don't you?
Yeah, I do. It makes a difference. Long before it became fashionable, you have been having it.
Oh, yes.
No, okay. Let's talk about your career. I remember my first encounter with you was on Ikeja under the bridge. I asked we were looking for a category for FMA, for gospel, and we didn't have quality music. So a young man now said, there's this music, it will blow your mind. I said, okay, take money, go to Under Bridge and go and buy the CD. And I got the CD, and that CD we listened and we did everything, and it won the Gospel Artist of the Year in that year. And I never knew you.
Wow.
It's great to see that our promise of that time has become so big. How has it been?
Great. Simply great. And it's gotten better and better as the years go by. Forgive me if I sound immodest, but it has been quite fulfilling.
We thank God. We thank God. Now, when you look at you don't even need to say it. You look fulfilling. You look fulfilling and fulfilled.
That's very African, you know? That's very African. Here in Africa, when someone is prosperous,
it shows
that's the way it goes.
Externally, it's expressed. Now, let's talk about, let's be a little bit serious. It's nice talking to your friends. So we are friends, and we talk. I know you've been very busy. I've been trying time to get you to come on the show, almost 6 months. What do you do? It's not this music. Why are you so busy? What are you doing that you're so busy, traveling all over the place? What exactly? Have you become a contractor?
I dare say I'm busier than a contractor. But I am a contractor of some sort.
Yeah.
You know, I have busied myself with spreading the gospel with this music. There is a music part of it. There is the missionary part of it. And so I travel from place to place at the invitation of organizations, yes, preaching the gospel through music. That's what I've been doing, basically. And when I'm not hiding to write, because I also have been doing quite some writing lately.
We have to be careful before you start preaching. What's about gospel music? I know that you are a deep person from the kind of music. One of my favorites is Jesus Must Be Honored.
I'll take that for a compliment.
Yeah, it's a great piece.
Thank you.
And very, very, very aspirational, very powerful. I love it. Now, you started off like a ragamuffin kind of a thing. You were on the floating Buka, you were mixing with the baddest reggae guys in this part, the Ras kimonos of this world and all that and all. How did you drop out of the drain?
I didn't. I just changed the theme. I just changed the subject matter. Yes, the message changed. But the reggae music unapologetically has remained. The raga outlook has remained. From the nightclub to the church, what changed was the message. But the music, in terms of its form, generic form, has remained largely the same.
You used to wear dreads.
No, I didn't have locks then.
You never had locks.
I never
So you've
had
always
locks.
been clean-headed, straightforward.
Like I used to tell them, a bald Rasta. Yes.
Okay. Now there's a complication in well, I won't call it complication. There's a complexity in your character, so to speak. You were going to floating Buka, doing reggae and all that stuff, and you're always studying to be to have a doctorate degree in the university in the language that has nothing to do with reggae. What was all that about?
Not a few people found it complicated and disturbing. In the University of Lagos then, in the Department of English, I remember being summoned, and someone said there was a TV show on NTA, and there you were in a nightclub, a DJ in a nightclub, red-eyed, and spinning reggae music. And I didn't have a time to defend myself before a senior lecturer of mine, God bless him, Ebike Dadze, rose up in my defense, and he said, well, light shone in the dark, and we saw what he does in the dark. Should they turn on the light in your dark, we may not be able to see, to behold what you do in your dark. Do you understand that?
I do.
Many people who criticized me for also being a reggae DJ when I was not lecturing in the university. I was a lecturer at the time, alongside the PhD program I was doing in the Department of English. Many people who criticized my being involved in reggae music and in the nightclub business would not have been able to show openly. The cameras would not have been able to show openly what they do when they're not lecturing, when they're not teaching. So he rose in my defense anyway, and that was it. But yes, it was an odd combination. Studying as an academic, doctorate degree program, and then a nightclub DJ. An odd combination, you would say. But it's about pursuing the things that appeal to you. It's about being real to yourself. If you love it, go after it. I love language. There is beauty in language. And I love music, especially reggae music. And I pursued it very early. I pursued it hard.
There goes the point. Nicely done. Now I want to pursue a little that line. While you were a reggae DJ and a scholar, by the way, did you complete the doctorate degree?
No, I didn't.
Okay. While you are pursuing that school, so to speak, you also were dreaming of putting an album on the score.
Yes.
And it never, did it ever cross your mind, I should say, that it's going to be gospel, whether you make it or not, or you just want to do all kind of mishmash?
Never. I think I was just about 6 months away from completing my first album, secular album, when the boat went down.
Wow.
You know, the nightclub was situated on a ship,
the marina,
yes, and berthed at marina. Then the boat sank.
Wow.
And there went our club.
Wow.
And there was a period of lull for another 6 months to 1 year, during which time there was no nightclub. For me, no nightclub. And consequently, no music. During that time, in that period of lull, something happened to me. I was a total transformation. I had an encounter.
We are going to hold on the encounter. We are going to take a break and come back because I want it to be fresh. I don't want you to rush it.
All right.
Because I'm particular about that encounter and why you don't like talking about the particular encounters somewhere down the line. I'll come back to it. This is FAJ-Alive. I've been chatting with Buchi, beautiful, lovely, great script writer and singer of gospel reggae music. We'll be back shortly. is FAJ-Alive. I'm with Buchi Atuonwu. You know him only as Buchi. It's a name that rings bell. And there's some kind of bell ringing now. You are talking about your encounter.
Yes.
What changed your secular music into what you now do?
At that time in question, I was not just doing reggae music. I was not just doing nightclub. I was not just doing academics. I was also doing something else in the university. I was actively involved in the confraternity, what is popularly called campus cultism. Yes, I was active in it. And cut the long story short, I found myself at the battlefront. And at the end of the battle, there was terrible bloodshed. I went underground for a while. And from my hiding, Jesus found me. The stories, the details of the stories leading up to this, many times I hesitate to tell because they're not something I glory in. And I don't want to be defined by that experience.
Because of the narrow-minded of people,
Exactly.
yeah.
But let's just say I had an encounter. And what the prison could not do, what Father's Cain could not do, what all manner of punishment could not do, was achieved as I walked into a church and walked out about 2 hours later. I encountered Christ. And it's never been the same again. I walked into a church in Ikeja. Somebody took me from hiding, invited me to church. And I thought, well, I wasn't doing much. And since I was running away from the authorities and the other rival gangs,
Yeah.
I might as well just go to church. So I did. When I got to church, I found a lot of young people gathered in the place. And I thought it was a fraud because I had never seen so many young people in a church. My idea of church was a place where you had elderly people.
Old people
Yes.
passing away
The
their time.
men on one side, the women on
the other side.
and the few young people you would find in church would either be in the choir or outside playing and gisting. But I found a lot of young people gathered in throes of worship.
Wow.
I looked at one of them. His hands were lifted up in praise, and tears rolled down his cheeks. He was weeping, and he was smiling at the same time. Something happened to me when I looked at that young man, and I knew that he had something I was looking for. I saw peace in him. The next day, I went to see the pastor. It turned out to be Pastor Chris Oyakilome. I asked him a few questions. You know, I was coming from like a young lecturer. I began to teach in the university at the age of 24. And I was giddy-headed with intellectual pride. So I thought I had quite a few questions for him that would jolt him. But every question I asked him, he answered me from the Bible. Every question I asked him that day, he answered from the Bible. At the end of that interaction, I was convinced that the Bible had all the answers to all of life's questions. And so I knelt down in his office and he led me to Christ. It's never been the same again since then.
Wow. Well, actually, there was silence in the studio when you began your story. This is how powerful it is. I understand your sentiment about people being narrow-minded and peculiar about the fact that the story about your life, a hair's breadth away from the firing squad, and coming out of all that and standing alone and standing strong and becoming a beacon of hope. People may miss the general picture and focus on the tiny bit of history. I understand that. It's the biggest testimony. You have to find a way of sharing with people. I don't know how you do it. I don't know how God will help you with that. But it's been a great time, great moment having you and watching you. Now, what's the goal forward? You have done like 4 or 5 albums? Six. I remember the last one I heard was Hosanna. Great works. I've always been a lover of it.
Thank you.
This thing, people always say inspiration is God. There has to be something else. Okay, yes, you have a knack for a language, so you could craft another. There has to be something else. Since you've become what you have become, has it become easier getting your songs, getting your music done? These hits you make, how does it come that easy to you? I don't want to hear spiritual grammar here.
Well, I don't know how to tell my story without bringing this in the spiritual. But here's what it is. How do you explain that the first album was released in 1999 and the second one 3 years after in 2002, the third one in 2005, 3 years later, and then the next one 2008, 3 years later, and then 2011, 3 years later, and then 2014, 3 years later. They've all come at intervals of 3 years. And believe me, unplanned. Each time people ask me, I say, this time I'm going to break the jinx. Oh, Jesus is coming soon. I'm going to do another album before the third year. And I keep talking like that, and I keep working, yes, until the next time I look up, the third year is around the corner. And that's exactly where we are.
Wow.
I've been doing some writing because I think that I have something to tell my generation. I think that I need to document a few things that I have been through, that I have seen. Yeah. And I'm also writing some songs and working in the studio.
Okay.
And now the way I'm looking at it, the third album will be ready in about 6-7 months. And by then, it will be the third year.
Until again. 2017, we will know.
2017. See?
Okay.
So they've always come at intervals of 3 years.
Okay, before you go, I know something happened, I think it was last year, a fire incident in your home, or your studio, burnt virtually everything down.
Yes.
How did you survive that?
Burnt virtually everything down. I like the word virtually because indeed not everything was burnt up in that fire. From the fire that consumed my house and studio, I say everything in that studio, everything was gone. Everything. Metal twisted, plastic melted, cloth burnt up. 2 days after the fire, smoke was still coming out from the walls of the studio. That's how intense the fire was. It lasted from 10 p.m. till midnight. 2 hours of fire. My Bible was in that studio.
Wow.
A copy of the Bible was in that studio. Not one page of that Bible was burnt. Not one page. And the Bible was in the fire for 2 hours. It took the fire service another 30 minutes to put out the fire. 12:30, from midnight to about 12:30. Yeah. And they emptied the tank of water in that studio to put out the fire. Not one page of that Bible was drenched in water. Isn't that amazing?
Wow.
How do I tell my story and exclude the spiritual?
Wow.
That's just the thing. I can't get away from it. It's like fire shot up in my bones. Every time I talk about this thing, I must let it out. That's what happened in the fire incident. Wow. And because the Bible survived, I've become bigger than I was before the fire.
Amen.
See?
Amen. It's great having Buchi, and you have inspired. You've inspired generations. You have inspired me. I appreciate your doggedness in this, and your stories are out of the storybook kind of a thing. But you're a man that we know, and I saw the house externally. I saw the level of damage and all that. Now, going forward, 2017 or this year, whatever it is, will you ever consider a collaboration with a pop star, rap star, any of these big stars that sing a different form of music from you?
Yes, indeed I would. Why not? In fact, I have. I have done some collaborations with some of the people whose songs, whose styles are different from mine. I mean, Frank Edwards does rock.
You're talking about non-gospel artists.
Ike Onka does rock.
Always we are mentioning now.
Pana Percival does not do reggae music.
No,
but I do collaborations.
All these are major artists on the gospel plane. I'm talking about non-gospel artists.
I see what you mean. I would hesitate to do that.
Okay. Why will you do that?
Because much as I love them and admire the work that they do, some of them, yes, there is such a thing as yoking. When you do a collaboration with someone, you're not just saying my voice and yours. You're saying my spirit and yours. And so, if we're going to do a song on Nigeria, I would gladly do it with a non-Christian person. If we're going to do a song on patriotism, I would gladly do it. If we're going to do a song against kidnapping and
social ill and all
on
that.
social ills, I would gladly do it.
Okay.
But if we're going to talk about the issues of life, there is no meeting point. And however much I love them, I can't get myself to do that because I have to be true to my message.
Yeah, this is the end of our meeting point. Thank you so much. The man that is true to his message and want to be true to time. We've been having a great time with Buchi, talking God, music, and his extraordinary life and living. It's been great. We'll be back with more on FAJ-Alive.